This is a drawing made by Leonardo da Vinci in 1490. It's often called Vitruvian Man. It's also often held up as a symbol of the European Renaissance, a time of enlightenment, when the barriers of learning were being broken down both within and between areas of knowledge and disciplines, a time of generalisation, perhaps. However, Vitruvian Man is arguably a piece of specialised knowledge. When Leonardo da Vinci was drawing this drawing, he was specialising in church architecture. Vitruvian Man is actually a prototype floor plan for a new innovative church that Leonardo was designing. So, we could say that Vitruvian Man is specialist knowledge of church architecture, but then again, we could argue that it's generalised knowledge because Leonardo took the knowledge of anatomy and was generalising it to church architecture. We could argue anything that we wanted, and that's the beauty of TOK. Okay, I know that was a spurious example and a little bit superficial, but we like to start with spurious examples and superficial stuff. It helps everyone understand the serious TOK stuff later on. We're about to get less spurious and more serious, but before I do, let me just remind you that if you want the free video download, keep watching to the end, I'll tell you how you can get it. And if you want serious, detailed TOK essay notes for this essay, then hit the link in the video description. Okay, let's get serious and let's get less spurious. So how do we reconcile the opposing demands for generalisation and specialisation in maths and one other AOK? How do we pick our way through this essay title? Well, let's start by thinking about what might be meant by specialisation and generalisation. There are lots of ways of approaching these two terms. I've written blog posts on both terms that I'll post in the video description. However, for the purposes of this video, let's think of specialisation as knowledge arising from a specific case or knowledge and skills developed to solve a specific problem or specific methods and tools for the production of knowledge. There are lots of other ways of defining this term. I go into some of them in the blog link below, but these explanations are sufficient for this video. Okay, let's look at generalisation. Again, there are many ways of defining this, but for this video we'll use the following definitions. Using knowledge produced in one specific context in another wider context, and this can include trends, patterns, cause and effect relationships, and so on and so on. We could also understand generalisation as the process by which we use the tools and methods of knowledge production of one context in a different context, and we'll get into examples and issues of all of these later on. Okay, here's an opportunity for some useful evaluation points. How specific does specific need to be to make it specialised? I mean, is the term penguin specialised enough? However, there are 18 species of penguin. Do we need to name one of these species for it to be specialised? Do we need to be more specific still and look at, for example, only penguins from a particular species that live in a particular area, maybe that are from a particular family? Maybe that have a particular sex, and so on and so on. I'm sure that you understand the evaluation point. On the other hand, how generalised does the reapplication of knowledge have to be for it to constitute generalisation? For example, if I find something out about a particular chinstrap penguin in South Georgia Island and I apply it to another chinstrap penguin in the same penguin colony on the same island, have I generalised the knowledge? And if I apply the knowledge to another chinstrap penguin in a different penguin colony but still on the same island, does that constitute generalising the knowledge? Or do I need to apply the knowledge to a different penguin species on the same island before I can say that I've generalised the knowledge? Or do I have to apply it to a different penguin species in a different region of the world before I've generalised the knowledge, etc., etc.? You get the idea, I'm sure. Too much about penguins, let's get back to the essay. So the essay asks us how we reconcile the opposing demands for specialisation and generalisation. And before we get to that, we need to have a quick think about what those demands might be. We can roughly sketch these out for specialisation as the need to develop specific knowledge to explain specific cases, the need to develop specific knowledge to solve specific problems, and for generalisation as being the need to use that specific knowledge to explain other cases, and the need to use that specific knowledge to predict as yet unseen or unknown other cases. Of course, there are lots of other possible demands for specialised and generalised knowledge, but this will do for this video. And this neatly brings me to the main point of this video, and I think the central point of this essay, which is, are these demands necessarily opposing? If we go back to our evaluation point earlier, knowledge which is specialised in one context is generalised in another context, and vice versa. Let's just reiterate that. Specialised knowledge can also be generalised knowledge, and generalised knowledge can also be specialised knowledge. As such, I'm not sure that what the prescribed title describes as opposing demands are actually opposing. You could make a very strong argument that these demands are actually complementary, and that the demand for specialised knowledge is integral to the demand for generalised knowledge, and vice versa. If these demands are not opposing, but in fact are complementary, then they don't need reconciling. We don't need to reconcile things that are mutually inclusive. Now, obviously, if you're writing this essay, you're going to have to consider the case that they may be opposing, and therefore they do need reconciling. You can't just tell the IB people who write the questions that they're wrong without first providing a well-structured argument that demonstrates the weakness in the proposition in the essay title. That tends to upset them if you don't do that. So, to make that argument, you can cherry-pick examples of specialised knowledge that seems to be incompatible or can't be generalised. But then, as an evaluation point, you can identify the common principles that underpin the specific knowledge to demonstrate the weakness in the question. We go into this in a lot more detail in the Talk Today essay guidance notes, of course. This question really demonstrates the need for you to pick an AOK that you know something about. Everyone should be able to say something about specialised and generalised knowledge in maths because you all study maths, but only pick a second AOK from which you are able to readily draw out examples. If arts is your thing, then pick the arts rather than history or human sciences, etc. If you want a free download overview of this essay, then see the link in the video description, give me your email address and I'll give you free download notes. Those notes are just overview notes. And if you want super detailed notes with more details, knowledge arguments, real-life examples, evaluation and implication points, then pick up the essay notes from the link in the video description. They'll take you to toktoday.com. We have foundation essay notes, which give you all the key essentials, and then we have the complete guide, which gives you everything that you could ever need and a lot more. Okay, I hope that you found this overview useful. If you did, then I'd appreciate a like, and I would be incredibly grateful if you would consider subscribing to TOK Today. For more help and lots of resources, please go to toktoday.com. Thank you so much for watching. Stay toptastic, my friends. Bye.